For years now, headlines across the world have focused on the growing distance between Prince Harry and Meghan Markle and the royal family. From explosive interviews, to memoir revelations, to long stretches of silence between Harry and Prince William, the story has never truly cooled down. But beneath the global drama lies a quieter, more personal question. When family conflict becomes global entertainment, does it eventually impact your marriage? Because behind the titles, behind the headlines, behind the speculation, are two human beings navigating emotional strain in full view of the world. Ever since stepping back from royal duties in 2020, Harry and Meghan have lived under a level of scrutiny few couples could ever imagine. Their move to California wasn't just a change in location, it was a complete shift in identity. Harry left behind the only institutional structure he had ever known. Meghan left behind the royal role she had entered under immense pressure and expectation. It wasn't just a relocation, it was a reinvention. And reinvention, even when driven by love and necessity, carries emotional weight. Their decision was followed by one of the most talked about interviews in modern history, their conversation with Oprah Winfrey. During that interview, Meghan spoke openly about emotional isolation and vulnerability. Harry spoke about feeling unsupported and trapped within a system he no longer felt safe inside. For the first time, the world wasn't just seeing royal figures. They were seeing emotional truth. They were seeing two people who had reached a breaking point and chose each other. But choosing each other came with consequences. Family relationships, especially ones rooted in shared childhood experiences, don't simply disappear overnight. Harry and William weren't just brothers, they were partners in navigating one of the most unusual childhoods imaginable. They experienced public grief together. They stood side by side during moments of loss, expectation, and pressure, which is why their growing distance carried such emotional weight. In his memoir Spare, Harry revealed painful details about arguments, misunderstandings, and emotional separation. He described moments of confrontation, moments of hurt, moments where the bond that once defined his life felt fractured. When sibling relationships break down, it doesn't just stay contained within that relationship. It affects everything. It affects how you see yourself. It affects how you trust. And sometimes, without intention, it affects your marriage. Family tension is difficult enough in private. Now imagine experiencing it while the entire world watches. Imagine trying to heal while headlines replay your pain over and over again. Imagine trying to protect your relationship while strangers speculate about its strength. That kind of pressure doesn't disappear, it lingers. It creates emotional exhaustion, and emotional exhaustion can test even the strongest partnerships. Because when one partner carries unresolved pain, the other often carries it with them. Not as a burden, but as support. Harry didn't just leave behind royal duties, he left behind daily proximity to his family, familiar routines, lifelong emotional anchors. And Meghan didn't just gain freedom, she carried the emotional reality of knowing the decision changed Harry's relationship with his family forever. Sacrifice exists on both sides, and sacrifice, even when freely chosen, creates invisible pressure. Pressure to ensure the decision was worth it. Pressure to prove that leaving was the right choice. Pressure to build a life strong enough to justify everything that was lost. At the same time, public speculation has never stopped. Every appearance is analyzed, every gesture is interpreted, every moment becomes material for headlines. If they attend events together, observers study their body language. If they appear separately, observers question their unity. If they remain private, observers assume distance. It creates a reality where silence becomes suspicion and normalcy becomes speculation. That kind of constant observation can slowly wear down emotional stability, but it can also create the opposite effect. It can strengthen emotional dependence. Because when the outside world feels uncertain, the inside world becomes essential. And from what has been visible publicly, Harry and Meghan have continued to show alignment. They've supported each other's professional paths. Meghan has explored media, storytelling, and lifestyle-focused ventures. Harry has remained deeply involved in veterans advocacy and mental health initiatives, causes tied closely to his personal experience and identity. To some observers, their individual professional growth has raised questions. But individual growth within a marriage isn't unusual. It's healthy. It allows both partners to retain identity, purpose, and independence while still sharing a life together. Growth doesn't automatically signal separation. Sometimes it signals stability. They've also continued to present emotional unity in subtle but meaningful ways. Public appearances together, shared interviews, consistent messaging about their priorities, their children, their privacy, and their mental well-being. Harry has repeatedly emphasized that protecting his family is his top priority, and Meghan has consistently supported Harry's willingness to speak openly about trauma, emotional healing, and personal truth. These moments may seem small, but they matter. Because marriage isn't defined by the absence of hardship, it's defined by how two people respond to hardship together. It would be unrealistic to assume that years of tension with the royal family have had zero emotional impact. Conflict of that magnitude leaves marks, not always visible, not always obvious, but present. Emotional wounds don't operate on public timelines. They heal slowly, quietly, sometimes unevenly, but impact doesn't collapse. Sometimes shared adversity strengthens emotional bonds rather than breaking them. Sometimes facing the world together creates a deeper sense of loyalty, trust, and emotional dependence. And that may be the most important part of Harry and Meghan's story. Because despite years of headlines predicting distance, despite constant speculation about their relationship, despite ongoing royal tensions, they continue to move forward together, not without scars, not without challenges, but together. From what the public can see, their partnership appears rooted in shared experience, shared sacrifice, and shared purpose. They left behind one world and built another, one defined less by tradition and more by choice. So are royal tensions still affecting their marriage? Possibly. They're human. Emotional strain doesn't disappear simply because life moves forward. But what matters more isn't the existence of tension. It's how they've responded to it. And so far, their response has been clear. Not division, not retreat, but partnership, standing beside each other, protecting each other, and continuing to build a life together, not defined by where they came from, but defined by where they're going. Because in the end, the real story isn't about royal conflict, it's about resilience, it's about sacrifice, and it's about two people who, despite everything, continue to choose each other. And perhaps the most important chapter of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's story hasn't even been written yet. Because time has a way of changing things. Distance can create clarity, pain can evolve into understanding, and even the deepest fractures, like the one between Harry and Prince William or the wider British royal family, are not always permanent. What matters now isn't the interview with Oprah Winfrey or the revelations in Spare. What matters is the life they're building in the present, a life centered around stability, around healing, around giving their children something Harry himself once struggled to have, emotional safety away from constant institutional pressure. Because in the end, legacy isn't defined by titles. It's defined by what you protect. It's defined by what you choose. And every day, through every headline, every rumor, and every moment of uncertainty, they're still choosing each other.